Hello, fellow diamond painting addicts, and welcome back to Diamond Painting Anonymous. I'm Daphne, and I'm here today for this week's WIP and Chat. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not new here, welcome back. WIP, W-I-P, stands for Work in Progress, and this is mine. You are welcome and encouraged to go grab whatever you are working on and work alongside while I chat, or alternatively, you can treat this as a podcast and just listen while I chat. Today I'm going to be working on my conversation kit. This is the one you guys picked for me to finish up drills and chills. I didn't get it done before the move, and obviously I'm a little bit behind. I'm working to try and get this one finished so I can move on to something else. So let me zoom in to where I'm going to be working today, and I will be right back. Don't go anywhere. All right, I've got my timer started. I've got my notes ready. And I'm just going to dive in to my regular life. What's been going on in my regular life? Kind of so much and also not enough. It's been a little crazy. We are still trying to settle into life here. Obviously, my husband is doing way better than my son and I since he's from here. He is very much enjoying being closer to family, being able to go over there for dinners and such, being able to stop in and see his dad. So that part of it has been good. Everything else is taking a bit of getting used to. I told my husband today, kind of feels like we've been on an extended vacation with nobody working. So I don't know if this is how it feels when people retire, because you're not getting up and going to work every day. Nobody's getting up and going to school. Not that my son was doing that anyway because he was online classes, but yeah, it just all feels a bit bizarre. We kind of had just decided we're gonna just kind of keep things status quo until after Christmas, and then in the new year, he's looking at going back to work and maybe things will feel a bit more normal then. I don't know. We've been trying to do various things. We've been trying to, now that we've imported the car, get the provincial registration and get a provincial license plate for it. So the first time we went, we've got to have insurance. So we went to go get insurance, and then we went back. Before we could get back, the local office for us closed because of maintenance issues. So our only option until they reopen is to drive to offices in other towns. So we drove 45 minutes away to the closest one, get there. Oh, the letter that we have from the insurance isn't enough. We need some card that comes directly from the insurance company, not just the agent. But here's the kicker. It comes in the mail. And we're like, but there is no mail, so what are we supposed to do? Because we have deadlines on all of this stuff, right? You only have so long to change over your driver's license, to get the car tagged, all that kind of stuff. I'm assuming we'll get some leeway because of the postal strike, but it all just makes it seem extra crazy. So we went to the insurance office and said, they're saying this isn't enough. We need this other thing. And they're like, no, you don't. They're just being sticklers. Just go to a different office, basically. So we did. So we get to the other office, and she says nothing about the insurance, but then she's looking at the registration for our car, because the car title only has my husband's name on it. But when we crossed the border, because my son and I were coming in as settlers, they put my name on the import paperwork with all of our household goods, including the car, because we're settlers, that meant it was tax exempt. And I said, but my name isn't on the car. And the Border Patrol officers were like, well, it doesn't matter whose name we put on it because you're tax exempt as a settler or he's tax exempt as a returning resident citizen, so it doesn't matter. But then the person at the DMV was like, well, it does matter because your name isn't on this title. And of course, she wanted to see the paperwork from the border, which was, of course, the one thing we didn't bring with us. So now we have to go back. However, my husband was able to change his driver's license, even though that wasn't without issues. So my husband has to have a CDL for his job. And because of course everyone does it differently. The US does it differently than Canada. So in the US, basically it's just a CDL, and that means you have a commercial driver's license, you can drive, it's based on vehicle rating and some other stuff. But it just says on your license CDL. Here in Canada, it's different. So he has a regular driver's license, he has a motorcycle license, and he has a bunch of certifications that go into his CDL, including air brakes. And she was able to pull up his old driver's license, his old Canadian driver's license, and see that he had all these certifications so that she could transfer them over. However, for whatever reason, the system wasn't letting her transfer over his air brake certification, which normally wouldn't be a big deal, except that that is something he has to have in order to operate the trucks for work. And she said, I can see that you have it because it's a certification that he completed when he was still living in Canada. But she said, I can't figure out why it won't let me add it to your license. So she called their internal help desk and couldn't get anybody to answer. She's like, nobody is answering. So she called one of her supervisors, who told her to call the help desk. She's like, I called, nobody will answer the phone. So they discussed it, and she's like, I can see that it's on there, but it won't let me add it. And they couldn't figure out why. So basically, she said, I'm going to issue this temporary license. It doesn't have it on there, but I know that you're qualified for it. I can see it's all been completed. I just can't figure out why it won't let me add it. So she was going to do some checking and then call him back, which hasn't happened yet. And then we get to another difference. So in the States, when you get a temporary license, because you have to renew it or whatever, they give you, it's almost like a little cash register receipt, and it has your photo on it, and then it prints out all of the particulars that go on your license, and that's what you use as your license until you get the permanent one in the mail. So same thing here, you get a paper one that is the temporary one until you get the permanent one in the mail. You guys have already seen the problem, I'm sure. But also, instead of being like a little slim cash register receipt that you can fit in your wallet, here it's an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, and there's no photo on it. It just has your name and all the particulars. So I'm just like, and it's only good for 30 days, which normally wouldn't be a problem because you would get your permanent driver's license within 30 days. However, since the post office is on strike, nobody's getting their driver's licenses renewed. And he said, okay, well, if it lasts longer than 30 days, what do I do? She's like, well, you just have to come back in and renew it for another 30 days until everything gets resolved and is back to normal. I'm like, okay. I mean, I get why they can't just overhaul the system, but that seems, and I mean, all of the DMV offices that we were at, we were hearing them tell everybody the same thing. Here, this is temporary, but it's only good for 30 days. Well, what if it runs out? Well, then you have to come back and get it renewed because nobody's getting anything in the mail yet. So it's kind of crazy. It feels a lot like 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. Like he got his driver's license, but now we have to go back and possibly do it again if the strike isn't resolved before that. And even if it is, I don't know what happens if you're in like a weird situation where it gets resolved on what, day 28? Do we then just wait for the new one to come in the mail? I don't, yeah, it's just a little bit crazy. So now I'm like, do my son and I bother going in to get ours? Because everyone keeps telling us it's not going to be very long and the strike will be resolved, but how long do we wait? We only have a certain window that we've been given from the insurance company for the vehicles to get our driver's licenses changed over. And we still need to do lots of other things. We need to obtain a second vehicle because once my husband does start working, he'll need it for work, which would leave me and or my son without transportation. So we need to resolve that. How do we do that? Because it's one of those, everybody wants this piece of paper to certify this, that piece of paper to certify that. But if I want that piece of paper, I got to have the first piece of paper, but I can't get that piece of paper until I get the second. So it's just been a bit, yeah, crazy. We did manage in the midst of all of this to take our trip to Bangor. So we drove there, stayed the night overnight. We were going to do several bits of shopping, which is one of the reasons we drove all the way into Bangor. We could have gone to another town that was a little bit closer, so our drive wasn't quite as long. But at the time, I was like, well, I want to maybe go to Michael's, and there's a Joann's, and Bangor has a Target, and a Walmart, and all these things. We ended up doing not very much of that. I always forget how much it takes out of you to drive, and I think because it hasn't been that long since we made the huge trek, it just set in even sooner, and it was really nice to just spend the night in the hotel. So I didn't go to Michael's or Joann's like I had planned, which was fine. The point of going there was to look for diamond paintings, and I didn't need any anyway, so it wasn't a big deal. We did manage to go to both the Target and the Walmart. My son had a list of a few things that he wanted from Target that we can't get in the States, some spices and stuff like that, Chick-fil-A sauce, that kind of thing. We did manage to find our coffee creamer that my husband likes, so we grabbed a few of those, and then we also found my zero sugar sweet tea, so I grabbed 4 or 5 bottles of that. I am currently hoarding them and only allowing myself to drink so much so I can make them last, which I'm sure will end shortly. And we can always take another trip. Like I said, there's another city that's a little bit closer than Bangor, so we could stop there. But Bangor had some nicer hotels and things, so I don't know. We'll see what will happen. And because of all of the saga with getting the registration and plates and everything for the car, we were putting off the trip until we got that all done, and then realized this is going to take longer than we thought, and we wanted to pick up our meds. So we're like, well, we're just going to go. We checked into it, and they said, no, it'll be fine. My husband took our paperwork just in case, which thank goodness he did, because we're coming back across the border, and the Border Patrol is like, okay, asking us all these questions. Oh, okay, you just went shopping, blah, blah, blah. Well, wait, how long's it been since you crossed the border? And we're like, we've been here for about a month. And he's like, well, what about your car? Because it still had the U.S. tags on it. My husband's like, oh, I brought the import stuff. I've already done all of that. And after he looked at everything, the Border Patrol guy was like, it's a really good thing you brought those papers, because otherwise this would have been a much longer process. I was like, oh my goodness. So thank goodness hubby was organized and thought to bring those. Otherwise we might have been sitting at the border for a few hours while they figured everything out. I mean, we knew we'd crossed and they'd figure it out eventually, but yeah, I didn't want to sit there with everything in the car and still hours to drive home while we waited for them to clarify that everything was good. So we're set at least for another few months. I told hubby we might make another trip back across the border if we want to go pick up some things again, but we'll see what happens. Maybe between now and then, I don't know what the weather is going to be like. Hopefully by the time we make another trip back, we'll have some of our documentation, at the very least, hopefully the provincial plates on the car, but who knows. So while we are settling in, figuring out what we need to move, migrate, change over, whatever, I've started looking ahead, both diamond painting wise, but otherwise as well. The youngest has a birthday coming up, so I've been asking him what he wants for his birthday, and so far the answer has been nothing. I'm like, there's nothing you want? No, I don't need anything, Mom. I'm like, okay, good. I'm glad you don't need anything, but there's nothing you want? And I've been bugging him to get out to a store with me. He needs boots. He brought a pair of snow boots, but he needs like a pair of everyday boots. All he brought with him besides the snow boots was a couple pairs of sneakers, and I would like him to get some nice winter boots. And he has a like plaid flannel quilted jacket that he keeps reassuring me is going to be enough. I'm like, it's not going to be enough when it gets very much colder. So I want to take him to get a jacket or a winter coat too, a procedure he is resisting. And my husband's like, why don't you just buy those things for him for his birthday and for Christmas? And I'm like, I just don't like doing that. It's like buying socks and underwear. And while I get those are very practical gifts, they're just not as much fun, at least for me as the person giving them. So I don't know what we're going to do. I'm going to drag him out one of these days and just take him to the store and be like, okay, we're here. Pick out some boots. Maybe in the process of getting some other things changed over, we'll figure out some stuff we didn't realize we needed. I don't know. And as we are getting closer to Christmas, I would like to put up some Christmas decorations. However, we don't have a ton of room. I was looking around yesterday trying to figure out where I could put some stuff. We did buy just one string of lights to put up outside, sort of to be holiday cheer, but also because it's hard to find the rental. It's kind of set back from the road, and in the dark it's easy to miss. So I told my husband, let's just get some lights and we'll turn them on when we leave. That way we can find it when we come back. The street light is like 3 or 4 houses down from where we are, so it's just easy to miss in the dark because the houses around us all look a little bit the same. So anyway, we don't really have room for a tree, which I wasn't expecting to put up an entire tree, but I would like to put out a couple of decorations. I didn't even bring that many with me, so we'll see what I can figure out and kind of cobble together so we can put those out just to make it feel a little bit more festive. I think that's part of me having trouble settling in as well. It feels wintry because of the snow and stuff, but I don't know, it still feels foreign, if that makes sense. I think putting up some Christmassy stuff would help, just to see some more of my own things displayed, and also maybe to get me in the mood for Christmas because it is just around the corner. We're not going to be doing a lot for Christmas. Me, hubby and I have already said, okay, this is what we're getting each other, and we're doing things like he's buying himself a new cutting machine because he wants to make more vinyl decals and stuff. And I want to renew my subscription to my Kindle Unlimited so I can continue to read all the time. Just practical things like that. I mean, we don't need a lot of things, so maybe that's why I'm struggling with what to buy the youngest, because he's really the only one I'm buying for. I already purchased for my youngest nephew. I bought his Christmas gift before we even left the States and gave it to my sister so she could wrap it for him because we didn't know if we would be able to make it back for Christmas, and I'm pretty sure we're not going to be able to. Financially, we could probably swing it, but tickets are uber expensive because it's the holidays, and flying during the winter in and out of Canada is always kind of dicey, and we'd have to stay in a hotel on top of that. And yeah, after all the expenses we just had moving here, it feels smarter to wait until after the first of the year, and then we'll look at making some trips back to visit family. So I'm planning on doing some video calls so that I can see everybody, but anyway, it just feels like time is flying by. And I told my husband we've already been here basically 2 months almost of the lease, or we will have been here 2 months by the time Christmas is over, and hopefully by then, with him back at work, we will be in a better position to find something more permanent for us to live in and make that move over a month or so and have time to move stuff out of here and into the new place or whatever without us having to do like we did. We're selling the house, so every single thing has to be out, and then whatever would fit in the trailer for the move here. So yeah, we just want to give ourselves a little bit more time to do all of that. It has been nice staying here, even if it was a little bit surreal the other day watching it snow on the beach. Beaches are supposed to be warm and sandy, so watching it snow and all of that was a little bit strange, but pretty. We had a snowstorm. We only got a couple of inches of snow where we are, but other places got 4 or 5 inches. So, and it was super windy. It was windy enough that some kind of like barge ship or something anchored up in the water where we are, close enough that we could actually see it. We actually saw it in the evening because my husband was looking out and he's like, is that a boat? There's lights out there. And then I'm like, well, I don't know, because we could see lights on the shore too. So everything had kind of settled down. And I'm like, I don't know if we couldn't tell if it was shore or boat or what in the dark. So when we got up the next morning, I look out and there it was, still sitting there. So I guess they decided to anchor up to kind of ride out the storms and the winds and all the waves. I've never seen a boat that big, that close up before, so that was fun. The rental includes snow removal, so hubby didn't even have to get out and shovel the driveway, which was nice. He did get out and shovel the little deck that goes around the outside of the house, but that was more just because he wanted to get outside and get some exercise, because we didn't need him to shovel that. We weren't really using most of the deck because it's too cold to be out there right now. Although it's supposed to warm up, it's supposed to be warmer this week, which means all the snow that we got is going to melt off. So I guess we'll see what happens. I have got to print out a little chart that converts Celsius to Fahrenheit for myself, because I can't ever do it in my head. So whenever my husband tells me the temperature or we hear it on the news, I'm like, what is that in real degrees? I know Celsius is real degrees, but just translating that in my head is like, is that cold? And then my husband will say, well, it's going to be X degrees tomorrow. Is that X degrees in Celsius or Fahrenheit? Of course, he always looks at me like I'm crazy, because it would be some crazy temperature in one or the other. Like, I think he said it's going to be 40, and I was like, is that 40 Celsius? And he's like, no, that would be like 90 degrees. And I was like, oh. I have been loving my new coat and boots with the colder weather, but I definitely need something to protect my face. I have something that's on order, but it's not here yet. And I was complaining to my husband because it was super windy the other day while we were out grocery shopping, and he's like, you said you wanted to live somewhere that hurt your face. And I was like, I did say that, and it is literally hurting my face, so we're good. Anyway, the coat and boots have been great. I'll get something for my face, and then I'm also got on order a couple of pairs of like thermal/fleece leggings so that I can layer up when we go outside, because I thought winds were bitter cold at home, but man, they are no joke here either. So definitely need something to help break the wind, especially if we're out walking on the beach or by the beach, because there is no wind block some days. When it is coming out of the north, it just blows right on you. Some days the houses are a bit of a block, but most of the time not. So, and of course, if we're actually on the beach, there is nothing blocking it. So looking forward to getting those. Mostly, I think this has just been an exercise in patience for me, like a lot of things, because I don't have any. I don't know if that would help me feel more settled or not, that some of these things were done, like switching over our driver's licenses and our phones and computers and various accounts and whatnot, and car registration and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm just being forced to be more patient. I don't know if I would feel more settled if those things were done or not. Probably not. So fingers crossed that things start happening soon, because I just need some things to start happening. Yeah. Okay, so I think that's everything I needed to cover in my life update. What do I need to cover in my diamond painting update? So probably more to report than I've had in the past month or so, just because the past month or so was basically taken up with the move, and I was doing a lot of that behind the scenes because I didn't want to spill the beans until we were here. So if you missed yesterday's video, I updated the logbook for 2025, made a few changes that people had requested. I moved some things around, things like that. I know a lot of people like to keep things digitally, and there's already apps out there for that. I mean, you can, Diamond Art Club has an app where you can keep stuff. They have basically a logbook on their website now where you can keep stuff if you want. I just have always been more comfortable with pen and pencil and paper. Plus, there's never a time when I can't use my pencil and paper. You know what I mean? If the website goes down or my internet goes down, whatever, my logbook is still there because it is pen and paper. So I like using it that way. If you like using a digital one, awesome. But if you are interested in a paper version, it is available for free download I did change the motif a little bit this year to make it a little bit different from last year. And like I said, there's a few things that I added in that people had asked for. So yeah, go out there, find the little link. You can download it for free and let me know if you find it useful. I just do it. I mean, I do it for myself because I like it and I like using it, but I put it out there because I think that other people will find it useful as well. So if you do, let me know that. I don't want to keep doing it if it's something that people aren't interested in. Am I the only analog person left out there? I feel like that some days. I told my husband there are days when I feel old, like when we were getting our bank account at the bank and I was like, well, how do I order checks? And she's like, oh, you still use checks? It's a way to make me feel like I'm a bazillion years old. Yes, there are a few things that I still use checks for. Maybe I don't need to here, but in the US there were. So I think maybe that's some of it too. Maybe that's why it feels like a vacation, because our rental is everything included. So we don't really have any bills other than rent. So it's not like I'm having to keep track of electricity bills and internet bills and all of that kind of stuff. Really, phone, gas, rent, and food is what we're paying. And that's pretty much it. Well, I guess technically we're paying insurance now. As you can see, I'm also still working on conversation. I have made some good progress on it, but I am still working on it. I've gotten to the point where, as you can see, there's some multi-placing, so that's making it go a bit faster. Now that DP for Veterans is over and I can concentrate more on this kit, I want to get this one finished before I move on to the gingerbread lighthouse, just because this was supposed to be for drills and chills and it's kind of been hanging around. I just kind of want to clear the slate. So when we had the snowstorm, I kind of just parked myself in front of the picture window and watched the snow while I diamond painted. It happened to be a day that there were football games on, so hubby and the youngest were watching football. So that was a bit more normal. They were watching football while I diamond painted. And I actually diamond painted for pretty much most of the day. So I got a good chunk of hours in on it, which was nice. It made it feel like I actually made some progress. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel anyway, even if I'm still not as far along as I would like to be. So once I'm done with this one, like I said, then I will move on to Gingerbread Lighthouse. And I'm not sure, I'd like to complete at least one more kit after that one. That one is kind of big, so I don't know if it will take up most of the month or not, but I'm excited to get started on that one, especially if we're going to have some more days where it's snowy and I can do like I did and just kind of park myself in front of the picture window, watch all the weather from inside where it's nice and cozy. I'm sure hubby and the youngest will be watching more football and I can just get some good diamond painting hours in. I've also been looking ahead to 2025, and in addition to putting together the logbook for next year, which I've already printed mine out. The one I showed you in the video didn't have anything filled in. I have since filled it in with as much as I can. Things that I'm pretty sure are going to be left over in my stash if I don't get to them before the end of the year. Kits I want to do, things like that. So I've been looking at goals, trying to plan out what things I want to accomplish, what kits I want to do, all of that good stuff. I'm not done yet, but I think I have a good handle on what I want to do. I really was giving serious consideration to like a no buy or low buy. I still haven't quite decided on that one. I really wanted to work through a good chunk of my stash, and I still do, before I buy a lot more diamond paintings. And I kind of was on a low buy unintentionally for a good part of the summer and fall because I knew we were moving. I had things packed up and I was like, I really don't have room to add anything more to what we're already taking. So I didn't buy anything. I had anticipated buying some kits on Black Friday and Cyber Monday. I had saved a pretty good chunk of my budget for that in anticipation of buying some things. However, when all the new releases came out for Black Friday and Cyber Monday, there really was nothing that screamed must-have to me, which was a little disappointing, but fine. I didn't need to buy anymore. I don't need any diamond painting kits. It was just if I found some that were a must-have, right? I also was a bit leery to buy from Diamond Art Club after finding out. I thought the pink lines issue was just with one particular run of kits, like one kit in particular. I didn't realize it was an issue with like a whole line of kits. And while I've seen people figure it out, I was just like, I don't know if I want to deal with that. However, I have to admit I got sucked in. When I went to go check my Diamond Art Club points, I realized that I was going to lose my diamond tier status, and I didn't have that much left to spend to keep it for another year. So I went back through their kits, just ones that were in stock. I wasn't looking specifically at new releases or anything like that. I just wanted things that were in stock so I wasn't going to have to wait for them. I also wanted to keep my diamond status because I have a bunch of points and I've been saving them to use for free shipping here in Canada. So I went looking for some in-stock kits, like I said. I found some that I clearly missed because earlier in the year I was really not keeping too much track of their new releases. I was trying to just avoid seeing anything. And I found some cute kits that I was like, oh, well, again, these aren't must-haves, but they were just, this will let me keep my points for another year. And then at that point, I'll see what I want to do. And probably by the end of next year, I will have spent all of my points that I've been saving up. Because, you know, it's one of those things where you can take money off to the actual price of the order, or you can take out free shipping, but you can't have both, right? Anyway, long story short, I ended up buying some stuff. I wanted to see how it would work for me to pay with my US bank card, but have it shipped to Canada, if it would even let me do that, which of course it did, because why wouldn't it? They don't care where it goes as long as you're paying for stuff. But it was kind of interesting to see how the prices changed, because once I put in the Canadian shipping address, all the prices changed to Canadian, even though I was paying with a US card, which I found kind of strange, but whatever. So then I had to wait. I ended up making 2 orders because of the difference. I thought I had purchased enough, but because of the conversion exchange rate between US and Canadian dollars, I hadn't purchased quite enough to keep me diamond status, so I had to go back in and make another purchase. So I've got 2 different orders coming from me, but none of them were the current Black Friday or Cyber Monday new releases, so, which probably because I was only looking at in-stock kits, and most of those are probably sold out. And I didn't look at the ones for yesterday because I already ordered more than I intended to, so I'm not going to look at them. I do, however, have some kits in my cart over at Dreamer Designs. They extended their Cyber Monday sale until the end of this week. I think it runs through Friday. No, that's not right, because then it would have ended this Friday. I don't know when it ends. I got to go check it out. Anyway, maybe it ends today. I don't know. Anyway, I've got a couple things in my cart, so I might buy something from them. I'm kind of curious to see how long it takes everything to arrive. I know it's shipping from the US with Diamond Art Club. I don't know. I assume it's shipping from the US with Dreamer Designs as well, even though they're a Canadian company, so that seems crazy. I also want to order some stuff from Orloa at some point, just because I want to see where their stuff comes through from as well as how long it all takes, just so I have some idea when we're in a more permanent place how that's all going to work. Also, since I'm now in Canada, if you have any Canadian diamond painting companies that you think I should try, shout them out and leave me a comment below. I do have a list of a couple of places on my to try list, but I'm always looking for more. I would like to support some local Canadian companies if I can, and if there's some cool ones that you guys know about that I've not heard of, then I would love to try them out. But yeah, I really want to spend some kind of intensive time diamond painting this coming year, to get through a chunk of my stash, because, you know, it's really easy when you're living someplace and you're kind of settled and everything, and you have room for all of the stuff. We're planning on downsizing, so whatever house we get is probably going to be about the same size as this house. Now, there are places in this house we can't use because of the setup, but it's going to be close to this size, so we definitely need to downsize on some things. Also, I'm kind of looking forward to being able to go like furniture and appliance shopping. I don't know if what we get will come with all of the appliances, if we'll need to replace anything, or yeah, looking forward to that. I'm also working on the last few videos for my Diamond Painting for Beginners series. I have a few topics left that I want to cover, but after that, I think I'm going to be done with that series. So yeah, if there's any other topics that you would like to see me cover, leave me a comment and let me know that. And it doesn't have to be for that beginner series. If there's just something in general you'd like to see me cover that I haven't so far, because sometimes I forget. I've been doing this for a while, and of course some of the stuff that I've done previously maybe isn't as relevant now as it was when I did it originally. I keep thinking about going back and redoing the wax test, but I don't know what I would use. Oh, speaking of wax, I did also order the diamond painting putty from Art Dot, which I gotta admit I really just ordered for the tin that it comes in. It comes in this little tin that says keep calm and diamond paint. I haven't tried the putty yet. I'm curious to see how it works, and it also came with this fancy tool to dig out the putty, so now I can use that on whatever putty I'm using, whether I use theirs or not. So I did buy that as well. So like I said, I need to basically be a diamond painting fiend for the next month if I want to meet all of my goals for 2024, and I probably need to do the same for 2025. I think some of 2025 is going to be me reducing my stash. I don't know what that looks like yet. And of course I say that right after saying that I bought some diamond paintings, but that's why I hadn't made a decision yet on the low buy, no buy. I don't really want to go no buy because I feel like that puts too much pressure on me to say no when I really want to say yes to something. But I think I could do a low buy. So those will be some videos coming out soon. I'll be going over how I did in November for my goals for this year. At some point before or close to the end of the year, I will be doing, well, probably after the beginning of 2025, I'll talk about how I did in December this month for goals for 2024. Sometime this month, I'll be talking about, once I have them all kind of hashed out, what my goals for 2025 are going to be and how I plan to meet them. So I'm also curious, have any of you, did you set goals for this year and have you met any of them yet? I don't know if I'm going to make my hours, or I think I'll come in under budget, and I know I completed doing my 5 oldest paintings. I don't know if I'll make anything else, but we'll see. So yeah, leave me a comment and let me know if you met any goals for this year, if you missed any, if you're setting any for yourself for next year. One of the things I want to remember to include for next year is events. I always forget about events, but I really want to try next year to try and tie some of my diamond paintings that I want to do to events, because that always just gives me extra incentive when I am doing kits to try and get it done because it's for an event. So like for next year, of course, I'm going to be hosting the 2 events, DP for pets and DP for veterans, like I normally do. So I have kits in mind for both of those. I also typically do drills and chills every year and summer with the masters. I didn't do summer with the masters this year. I at least did a Muka kit, so something along those lines for next year. But I don't know what other events are out there. I mean, I'll go check out the Facebook group, Diamond Painting Events, and see what's out there. But I was also just curious, what events out there are your guys' favorite? Is there like one that you do every single year because you just like it so much? And why do you like it? Is it the prizes? Is it the time of year? Is it the kits? Like I know some people are super into Halloween. Some people are super into Christmas. So yeah, just curious. And I know that I don't think any one place lifts every single event out there. So if there's something I haven't heard of, or maybe a lot of people haven't heard of, leave a comment down below so we can all check it out. Because like I said, I would love to match up a kit with some events next year just to give me that added push to get some things done. All right, I think that's it for me today, guys. I got a little bit done. I've got a few things here and there. I missed one of the purples there, and I've got some to fill in here. You can see the little ghost, and the handle of the broom is starting to take shape. Her little face. So I'm getting close to being done with this one, and then I can move on, like I said, to the gingerbread one and be a little bit more in the spirit of Christmas rather than Halloween. thanks so much for sticking around till the end of the video and all of my rambling. Before you leave, don't forget to do all the things. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and hit that bell notification icon so that you can be informed of future uploads. And as always, guys, thanks so much for watching.